these fellas, I dare them challenge me with their somewhat primitive skills. They're just as good as dead.
Morning, Bronc Nation. Coach Slice coming at you on this fine Mother's Day morning from my backyard with a recap for the Black Hills Conference meet. We're going to do this inside over a cup of coffee, though, because it's kind of chilly out here, and my toes are starting to freeze, so... Okay, I'm ready. Conference meet came and went, and weather was nice, and I needed a day probably to decompress and reflect on how the day went, because the day started off kind of hectic. They were anticipating the wind being a factor in several events, so they switched the directions of which way the athletes were running and jumping on the runways several times. And so our kids were getting our marks down and then picking them up and moving them over here and then picking them up again and then moving them over here. And with the conference meet, they run varsity and JV. And so, it took a while to get through all of the jumping events. The entire track meet was over before the triple jump, junior varsity boys triple jump was over. So, and some other outside interferences crept in there as well to kind of make it a hectic morning. So, but looking back on it, it was actually a very productive meet. Very good, actually, team-wise overall. I think it was a great meet. I think Coach Riley was pleased with on his end on how the meet went. So it was really good for us, and we had some kids do some really positive things, and we picked up some momentum going into regions. All right, I'm going to start with long jump first on the boys' side, varsity long jump, and we had Tate Larson, Jackson Tyndall, and Aiden Giffen jumping. So Tate Larson jumped in the low 17s, 17.3, I believe, to finish in the top 20. So, that was all right. I was happy to see him get relatively close to where his personal best is, and he's still looking real good with the way he comes down the runway and his form and everything like that. So I'm real pleased with him. And here's where kind of my early frustrations were. Some days athletes just feel it, and both Jackson Tyndall and Aiden Giffen were jumping in the high 19s, and going into finals, they were starting to loosen up and really hit some big jumps, but unfortunately we kept scratching those jumps. Just kind of at all levels, with both varsity and junior varsity, it was kind of a scratch fest early for us, it seemed. And these two right here, we missed an opportunity. I feel that both of them would have easily open qualified if we could have at least got one of those marks in the finals. And I mean, they were really good jumps, but the positive thing there is they look really good and they feel really good. It was unfortunate that we couldn't get at least one of those guys open qualified, because then, we could have a different strategy going into the region meet to try to get some of the other guys in there too. But it is what it is, and we just gotta get ready for region meet now. But they both were looking really, really good, and I would not be surprised if both of them probably, they were both PR jumps for sure, several of them. So, they were both looking very, very good, especially Jackson Tyndall, very good. And on the boys junior varsity side, we actually had several entries here. This was good because, like everyone knows, because of the weather, there's been so many cancellations, and these kids have they've gotten just a couple opportunities to compete, and we were really happy to finally get them out there and let them jump. So we had several kids entered in this, and a couple PRs out of it. Braxton Garza finished fifth. His best jump was 16 feet 9 inches. That was not a PR. He can jump into the 17s, but it's been tough to get even a practice in with a lot of these JV kids. Again, because of the weather, and he's jumped twice, I think, a whole year long. So this would have been his third time jumping. So it's tough to stay consistent when you're not consistent. So that was good there. And Nick Lambert, he finished 10th in JV and set a PR. He jumped 15 feet 9 inches. If we keep practicing with him and just, make sure he doesn't overthink, because he's a thinker. Anyone who knows him knows that he analyzes everything. So he just, once he relaxes and just gets confident and doesn't think about anything, he's going to go a lot further. Ethan Jensen finished right behind him with a 15.7. He's got a lot of natural athleticism. He's a small little dude, but he's got hops. So once we dial him in, he's probably gonna put something together pretty nice. And then the Gov, Lieutenant Gov Burns, he PR'd as well in the long jump. So 13 feet 11 and 3/4 inches, finished in the top 20 for JV. So the kid's been putting in a lot of hard work, so I was happy to see this. So a couple PRs there, not bad. Good job, JV. All right, on the girls' side for long jump for varsity, we had 3 entries, Bella Jensen, Harley Fisher, and Lainey Brill. So Bella Jensen finished 4th with a 16-foot 1.5 inch jump. That puts us a half inch away from open qualifying. I tell you what, with the girls' long jump especially, this has kind of been the theme of our season. Between her, Bella, and Lainey Brill, we jump just 1/4 inch or half inch away from open qualifying. So whatever your coach wants is their kid to open qualified, because it makes it easier for the rest of us, so we know our ticket to state is punched, and we don't have to stress about the region, and we can try to get some other kids in there, but we just can't seem to get there. So it was really good to see her jump. She actually, Bella Jensen, had suffered a back injury earlier in the week, and we weren't sure if she was going to be able to go. But she felt a lot better and PR'd in both long and triple. So we'll get to triple here in a second. But her long jump, 16 feet. She went 16.1 earlier in the year, at the beginning of the year, and we added a half inch to her PR on Friday. So, she finished 4th. Harley Fisher and Lainey Brill, Harley finished 10th, Lainey finished 11th. Harley's, she's jumped in 15 feet before. She jumped a high 14, so she wasn't too far off what her personal best was, but she was complaining of, heavy legs, especially early in the track meet. So she might be a little overworked or something. We might have to take a step back. Coach Abel and Riley might have to take a step back and look at where she's at, where her body's at. But Lainey Brill jumped to 14.8, and usually she's 15 feet, and she's one that's on the verge of, we just talked about, on the verge of open qualifying. Just always seems like it ends up this way for Lainey every track meet. She goes and literally runs an event and then has to come right back over and get her jumps in, and that was the case here. She wasn't fresh when she got over to the runway. Her mind wasn't fresh. She wasn't focused, and we did some things technique-wise that she usually doesn't do, and it's due to fatigue, and she wasn't able to get into the finals, but she more than capable of she should have been a high placer here, probably an open qualifier here, anyway, so that's girls long jump. Girls JV long jump, we had several kids entered in this. Dylan Stadilli, Drew Keegan, Isabel Jackson, Action Jackson. We had Amity Middleton entered into this as well. So I was pretty happy with this. All the girls got marks except for Amity. We couldn't get her on the board. We were tied up in Fruity Jack stuff, so we weren't locked in. Couldn't get her foot down. But no, Dylan Stadilli finished 4th in JV, PR'd with, it's registered as a PR, as a 14 feet 1.5. She's actually jumped further than that, but she's an 8th grader, so it hasn't been registered on the athletic.net database. So her jump is listed from conference as a PR of 14.1. So I mean, she's right there. So she did very well in this. Drew Keegan jumped to 13.4. Isabel Jackson PR'd with a big 12'8". So no, these girls did well. They came in. They were dialed in. They were all focused, and especially with all the chaos of me bouncing back and forth between different runways and having to get different marks. So I was pretty happy with these girls. Lots of good momentum going into next year. Nice job, ladies. Okay, boys varsity triple jump. We had two boys entered. Kilby Olsen was out of town for traveling basketball, so we only had 2 guys going. Tate Larson finished, I believe, 5th, and he was mid 38s. I think a 38.4.5 is what he finished with. So, like I said, for long jump, he continues to look good in everything he's doing. I think we got some good momentum going into the region meet. So I strongly feel that Tate Larson has a very good chance to qualify for state through the region meet next Thursday. So I'm very excited to see what we do with him. Jackson Tyndall, we scratched all 3 jumps. And that's frustrating as a coach because you want to get a mark. But what the good thing is Jackson Tyndall is looking and feeling very, very good right now. He is starting to peak, and I think we just came off a big performance at Howard Wood, and he PR'd there. He got on the podium there. And if you watch the Howard Wood video and the recap from it, I go into detail a little bit about how important that was, how big that is for our program, especially on the boys' side. Usually what happens is after a big performance like that, then you kind of get a lull. The next week, it's kind of like a hangover, a crash. You see it all the time with athletes. They'll go big at big meets, and then the next one they'll kind of go back down a little bit and then work their way back up. No, I mean, he looked better, just as good, if not better, than at Howard Wood. He's attacking the board. That's why we couldn't get a mark, because he was attacking the board so aggressively. And if we could have got a mark, I was bummed that we couldn't get a mark down, so I didn't have a courtesy measure, but I probably should have, because I'm thinking 43 feet. I'm thinking, that's how good he looked. And he was disappointed that he couldn't get a mark, but he walked away with a positive attitude. This is great. This is exactly where we need to be for all the boys. And he's already pre-qualified, so next week he'll be entered but won't be competing. And we're gonna look to get Kelby Olson and Tate Larson in. So even though we couldn't get a mark with Jackson, and I was frustrated with it at the time, there is a lot of positive things that we can pull away from this. So anyway, good job, Jackson. Boys JV triple jump. We had 4 boys entered in this. The Lieutenant Governor, Burns, excuse me, Anthony Staley, and Ethan Jensen, and Aiden Giffen. Aiden Giffen hasn't tripled in the last 2 years. I can't remember us actually practicing it. The only recollection I have of that is last year at the very beginning of the year, before he started to have problems with his hip flexors. But we were actually last week going through a practice, and I was watching him bound, and I was like, boy, you look like you be pretty decent at triple jump right now. And then he expressed interest in trying it, and then it just so happened that the JV conference has unlimited entries, so I lobbied for him with Coach Abel to get him in there, and with 1 or 2 quick practices, we went ahead and got him entered, and he jumped a 38'7" triple to win the boys JV by 3 feet. Now, the distance that he got, the 38, he was actually disappointed with that, I know. And yes, it is several feet away from open qualifying on the varsity side, but when he did this was the last event of the day, and he had run a 400 and did his other events. And he ate a bag of fast food too, so he wasn't feeling the best, but we still got this jump off, and he took off from behind the board as well. So the last jump that was 38 feet 7, he was probably a solid 9 or 10 inches behind the takeoff board. So he probably, if he would have hit the board dead on, this probably would have been a 40-foot jump. I'm not kidding you. So lots of potential there for next year. So I'm really excited about this. And I'm excited about the other boys as well, too. Ethan Jensen, this is the first time he's done this. I really wanted him to triple because I can see the way that he bounces around. Just has natural athleticism. Jumped 35.2. And once we get some solid work with him, he's going to put on a lot of distance quickly. Very happy there. Anthony Staley, he came in jumping 29 feet, his best. He showed up, worked a week of practice, 33.2.5. So that's 3 feet PR there. Very happy with him, and he's very excited. The Lieutenant Gov, I tell you what, he hit his first jump was really good. It's probably a 30-foot something jump, but he scratched the next 2, and he walked away very disappointed. I know that this event here he was waiting all week for, and he really wanted to do well in this. We only registered a 27, which is well below his PR. Yeah, don't worry, Gov. Keep practicing, buddy. We'll get it. Girls triple jump. All right, we had 3 girls entered in this: Bella Jensen, Aspen Branning, and Dylan Stadilli. So Bella Jensen finished 2nd place, PR'd in the triple 34 feet 11 3/4 inches. So she's gonna hit 35 at state for sure. I'm really excited for her. She looked really good. We talked about how good she looked in long jump, and she looked really good in triple. Great momentum going forward and getting ready for the state meet. 8th place was Aspen Branning. She finished with a 31 3 3/4. So she's been struggling, hanging around in the 29s. She's hit 31 before. But she finally did some stuff, cleaned up her landing a little bit, and put herself right back out there with into the 31s. So hopefully we can, maybe try to add some distance at the region meet and see if we can get her open qualified. So there's definitely a chance there for her. And Dylan Stadilli, I was looking forward to seeing her triple, because she's been competing at middle school level all year, and her coach has been doing a really good job at keeping me updated on where she's at. And, she's been in the 29s, mid 29s, high 29s. And I know if we got just a few days of practice, we could probably get her into the 30s, and that's exactly what we did. So we PR'd there, 30 feet, 8.5 inches. Really proud of her. And I am really excited to see what we can do with her in the region. So, yep. So, nice job there, girls.
Get out.
On the junior varsity side, we didn't have anybody entered in the junior varsity ladies triple jump. So, okay, to summarize this, usually the conference meet, it doesn't mean much. So it's a great place to start to really generate momentum into the region. So, and that's exactly what we did from the jumpers overall. So I was really happy there, looking back on it. And now we just gotta get a good 3 days of practice, as regions are on Thursday, and get some kids into state. So we're in the end game now. See you soon.
This video was brought to you by Brody.
I take all comers. I don't duck any man. Come one, come all, because nobody can get close to me. They're not even close. I'm the best fighter in the world.